emotion, and when it comes up, go outside and yell and scream, not at anybody, but just at the situation. And the reason that anger comes up is because of a boundary being crossed. That's all it is. That's all it is.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yes.
Yeah. Right?
Well, it's also, I mean, it's because you didn't place a boundary when inside of yourself you wanted to. And then you get angry. You essentially get angry at yourself.
Totally well said. Yes. Nice.
Yeah. It's really, it's all about boundaries. And when you're a child, what I, in my experience and what I see in a lot of my clients is when you're a child, you don't know how to place boundaries, especially not with your parents, because you're a child. They tell you what to do. They decide, everything in your life, or at least most things.
Yeah.
And when their decisions aren't so good for you, you end up feeling a lot of anger because you weren't able to place a boundary. And then that becomes a pattern in your life.
Totally.
And then you end up just harboring a lot of anger, but you don't realize that it's because you're not really able to create healthy boundaries in your life. So if somebody said or did something and you were able to appropriately, respond in the moment and say, no, don't speak to me like that, or don't do this, please, or, whatever it is. If you don't say that in the moment, then you end up feeling a lot of anger, as opposed to just expressing what you felt in the moment and placing that boundary there. And that's very damaging.
Yeah. And it's a practice, right? I think that
yes.
in partnership, it's like when my partner has crossed my boundary, it's like, wait, did they just do something that I didn't like? And then all of a sudden in that moment, like if I don't say anything,
mm-hmm.
Then I'm going to harbor it. But being able to know, and it's timeliness, right? It's like if we're knowing when to say it, knowing, hey, can we have a conversation? You crossed my boundary here. You triggered me, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Actually knowing when to say it and expressing it is really important too.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. So maybe you can tell me about some of your personal experiences with the breakthrough sessions.
Ooh, cool. I'll share one of the ones that I received because it's been such an impactful for me. And this has to do with health and fitness. So I used to be a very, very active. So I'm 43 right now, and I used to be very active in my 30s. Basketball, I had a trainer, yoga. I did sort of all the exercise things. And I'd say over the past, my later 30s, for the past 5 years, I've been very sort of not really doing much physical activity, not much exercising, and it was really bothering me. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to do a breakthrough session on health and fitness. And sort of the sequence of the breakthrough session is, like I said, we sort of elicit all the questions. And then what we'll do is we'll do a values elicitation, which is we discover like, what are your values in this area of your life? And so when we did it for me, and you do it twice, you do it once before you do the mental emotional release, and you do it once after. And when I did it the first time, like there was like, for me, exercise was easeful, fun, like, and there was no words of like exercise, health, fitness. There's none of those words were up there. And once, it was like, wait a minute, something's wrong here when it comes.
It was just like fun. That was
that was the main sort of like, it has to be fun, right?
Oh, it has to be fun. I see.
It has to be fun. And that was sort of the main value that I was holding, but there wasn't anything associated with like exercising or fitness or, physical fitness.
You're just a fun guy.
Just a fun guy. I just want to be a healthy, fun guy. And that doesn't really work when it comes to, and so once we did the release work and then came around and did the values again, my number 1 was exercise. My number 2 was health. My number 3 was nutrition. My number 4 was fun. And the rest I'm sort of blanking on. But it just, what happens now, I've been training for the past 2 months now. I have a trainer. I've been eating healthy. It's like literally what it does, it really unlocks the sort of like unconscious mind. of like thinking that all these things are not possible. But then all of a sudden it's like the mind's like, of course it's possible. Why wouldn't it be possible? So it's really fascinating how the unconscious mind works. The best way that I can describe what happens is if you think about you're working, so you have one part of your brain that's sort of like, hey, cool, these are the stories and pictures that I see of what's possible. But then there's another part of the mind that has these whole other pictures, but you don't see that. You don't see that as a possibility. It doesn't even come into the conscious mind or the awareness of the person. Once I did a breakthrough session, all of a sudden these parts that weren't like I couldn't see, all of a sudden they're there. It's like, oh, I can exercise, I can have fun, I can eat healthy. Yeah.
All right.
And then doing, I mean, the best part is doing this with sexuality and sex. It's like, it's just the wake up calls that happen. It's like, I've seen people be like, wait, I can, like one of the people that I didn't do the session with them, somebody else did, and they came up to me because they knew I was a sex coach, and they're like, wait, before I did the breakthrough session, I didn't realize that I was worthy, and I didn't think I could have a partner that loved me and had all these criteria. But after they did the breakthrough session, they're like, I can have all of that and some.
That's so amazing. Yeah, it's so much of it, our lives, we of course create our reality in our mind, so we can change our reality in our mind. And that's fantastic. I love that.
Thanks.
So maybe you could tell us about your offerings.
Yeah. So I do one-on-one coaching as well as one-off breakthrough sessions. And so my one-off breakthrough sessions are basically, it's a 6 to 8 hour, it's a deep dive. It basically takes you through what I just explained and transforms the area of your life. And it's fascinating. I think it's so amazing. And then I also do one-on-one coaching. I do recommend that people do the coaching and not just the one-on-one or just a one-off breakthrough session, because I think like having someone to be there with you is really supportive. And I also have a men's Neo-Tantra workshop training or course coming up February 1st, which I'm really excited about. It's the first one, and I'm stoked to support men in sort of discovering themselves.
Yay.
Yes.
I love it. Thanks. Yeah. We need this. We really, really need this work. So I encourage all you guys listening to this to really contact Solomon and learn more from him. And if you could tell us, Solomon, how they can reach out to you.
Sure. You can check out my website. It's Ecstatic Freedom. That's ECSTATIC freedom.com. Or you can send me an email to info@ecstaticfreedom.com.
Awesome. And what do you think are some of just the major changes that you think men will go through if they contact you and decide to enroll in your course?
Be more embodied, have better sex, be an overall more congruent guy when it comes to loving yourself and loving your partner in terms of your sex, your desires, your wants, sex related, and really knowing like, oh, how differently can I think about sex to live a better life?
Amazing. Sounds fantastic. Solomon, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thanks, Nima. I love this. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. And thank you so much for taking the time to be with us on Divine Couples. Feel free to check us out at www.divine-couples.com. Our social media page on Instagram is @divine.couples, adding intimacy, passion, and healing to your lives. If you have any questions or comments, you can feel free to send me an email at info@divine-couples.com. Thanks for joining us on Divine Couples. I am your host, Naomi Slater.